Azure administrators in the US earn $80,000 to $150,000, but only if you pass AZ-104. The identity and governance module makes up 20 to 25% of your exam, and it's where most people fail. Today, we're drilling the toughest RBAC, PIM, and Entra ID questions with explanations that actually make sense. Let's turn this certification into your next promotion. You have a Microsoft Entra tenant that is linked to the Azure subscriptions shown in the following table. You have the resource groups shown in the following table. You assign roles to users as shown in the following table. For the following statement, select yes if the statement is true. Otherwise, select no. User 1 can resize VM1. The options are A, yes, B, no. This question tests your understanding of Azure RBAC, role-based access control, inheritance, and scope, especially how permissions assigned at management groups flow down to subscriptions, resource groups, and resources. You need to trace user 1's permissions from their assigned scope, MG2, down to VM1's location, RG3 in sub 3. The correct answer is yes. Yes, user 1 can resize VM1. Here's why. User 1 has the contributor role assigned at MG2 scope. Looking at the management group hierarchy, sub 3's parent management group is the tenant root group, but MG2 is also under the tenant root group. The key principle: Azure RBAC permissions inherit down the hierarchy from management groups to subscriptions to resource groups to resources. User 1 has contributor at MG2, which means user 1 has contributor access to all subscriptions within MG2 and all resources within those subscriptions. Looking at the tables, sub 3 has management group MG2, RG3 is in subscription sub 3, VM1 is in RG3, described as contains a virtual machine named VM1. Since user 1 is contributor at MG2 scope and sub 3 is within MG2, user 1's contributor permissions flow down through sub 3 RG3 VM1. The contributor role grants full access to manage all resources but cannot assign roles. Resizing a VM is absolutely within the contributor role's permissions. User 1 can start, stop, resize, configure, and manage VM1. Quick takeaway: management group role assignments inherit down. User 1's contributor role at MG2 flows down to sub 3, RG3, and VM1, allowing user 1 to resize VM1. If this video is helping you, support us by hitting the like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. You have a Microsoft Entra tenant that is linked to the Azure subscriptions shown in the following table. You have the resource groups shown in the following table. You assign roles to users as shown in the following table. For the following statement, select yes if the statement is true. Otherwise, select no. User 2 can create a new storage account in RG1. The options are A, yes, B, no. This question tests whether user 2's storage account contributor role scope to storage 1 allows them to create new storage accounts in RG1. The key is understanding the difference between managing an existing storage account versus creating new storage accounts. The correct answer is no. User 2 cannot create a new storage account in RG1. Here's why. User 2 has the storage account contributor role scoped only to storage 1, an existing storage account. The storage account contributor role permits management of storage accounts, provides access to the account key, which can be used to access data via shared key authorization. However, when this role is scoped to a specific storage account, storage 1, user 2 can only manage that particular storage account. They can update its configuration, regenerate access keys, read data, etc. Creating a new storage account is a different operation that requires permissions at the resource group or subscription level, not at the individual storage account level. To create new storage accounts in RG1, user 2 would need a role like contributor or storage account contributor scoped to RG1, the resource group, or sub 1, the subscription, not just scoped to an existing storage account. Looking at the tables, RG1 is in subscription sub 1 and contains storage 1. User 2 has storage account contributor role scoped to storage 1, the resource, not to RG1 or sub 1. The scope matters critically here. User 2's permissions are limited to managing the existing storage 1 account only. They cannot create new resources, like additional storage accounts in RG1, because their role assignment doesn't extend to the resource group scope. Why user 2 cannot create storage accounts? Storage account contributor on storage 1 equals manage that storage account only. Creating new storage accounts requires contributor-level permissions at RG or subscription scope. User 2's role is scoped to a single resource, Storage 1, not the resource group, RG1. Quick takeaway. Role scope determines what you can do. Storage account contributor on a specific storage account lets you manage that account. But to create new storage accounts, you need permissions at the resource group or subscription level. To get the free PDF or mock test, comment PDF or mock or both. I will share the downloadable link within the next 24 hours. You have a Microsoft Entra tenant named contoso.onmicrosoft.com that contains the users shown in the following table. You enable password reset for contoso.onmicrosoft.com as shown in the password reset exhibit. You configure the authentication methods for password reset as shown in the authentication methods exhibit. For the following statement, select yes if the statement is true. Otherwise, select no. After user 2 answers 3 security questions correctly, he can reset his password immediately. The options are A, yes, B, no. This question tests your understanding of Microsoft Entra Self-Service Password Reset (SSPR) requirements, specifically the number of authentication methods required to complete a password reset. You need to check the SSPR configuration settings shown in the exhibit to determine if security questions alone are sufficient for user 2 to reset their password. The correct answer is no. No, user 2 cannot reset his password immediately after answering 3 security questions correctly. Here's why. Looking at the password reset exhibit, the configuration shows number of methods required to reset 2. This means users must provide 2 different authentication methods to successfully reset their password, not just one method multiple times. Even though user 2 answered 3 security questions, which satisfies the number of questions required to reset 3-inch setting, security questions count as only one authentication method. The available authentication methods in the exhibit are mobile phone, checked. Security questions, checked. Since the policy requires 2 methods, user 2 must provide both. 1. Security questions. User 2 answered 3 correctly. 2. And mobile phone verification, SMS or call. Answering security questions alone, even if it's 3, 5, or 10 questions, only fulfills 1 method requirement. User 2 still needs to verify via mobile phone, the second method, before the password reset can complete. Important note from the exhibit. These settings only apply to end users in your organization. Admins are always enabled for self-service password reset and are required to use 2 authentication methods to reset their password. This confirms that the 2-method requirement applies to regular users like user 2, who has no admin role based on the table showing role assigned none. Why user 2 cannot reset immediately? Number of methods required equals 2, shown in exhibit. Security questions equals 1 method, even if answering 3+ questions. User 2 must also verify via mobile phone to complete the reset. Quick takeaway. In Microsoft Entra SSPR, number of methods refers to different type of authentication methods, not the number of questions or attempts within one method. If 2 methods are required, users must use 2 distinct methods like security questions plus mobile phone. You have a Microsoft Entra tenant named contoso.onmicrosoft.com that contains the users shown in the following table. You enable password reset for contoso.onmicrosoft.com as shown in the password reset exhibit. You configure the authentication methods for password reset as shown in the authentication methods exhibit. For the following statement, select yes if the statement is true. Otherwise, select no. If user 1 forgets her password, she can reset the password by using the mobile phone app. The options are A, yes, B, no. This question tests whether user 1 can use mobile app authentication methods for password reset based on what's enabled in the SSPR configuration. You need to check which authentication methods are actually enabled, checked in the password reset exhibit. The correct answer is no. No, user 1 cannot reset her password using the mobile phone app. Looking carefully at the password reset exhibit, under methods available to users, the enabled checked authentication methods are mobile phone, checked. Security questions, checked. The following mobile app methods are not enabled, unchecked. Mobile app notification, unchecked. Mobile app code, unchecked. Email, unchecked. Office phone, unchecked. Microsoft Authenticator mobile app can be used for SSPR in 2 ways. 1. Mobile app notification, push notifications to approve, deny. 2. Mobile app code. OAuth verification codes generated by the app. Since both of these mobile app options are unchecked disabled in the exhibit, user 1 cannot use the Microsoft Authenticator app or any mobile app for password reset. Users can only reset their passwords using the methods that are explicitly enabled, checked in the configuration. Based on the configuration, user 1 can only use mobile phone, SMS text or voice call to mobile number, security questions, answer pre-registered questions. Important distinction: mobile phone and mobile app are different authentication methods in Microsoft Entra SSPR. Mobile phone equals SMS text messages or voice calls to a phone number. Mobile app equals Microsoft Authenticator notifications or codes. Why user 1 cannot use mobile app? Mobile app notification is unchecked, disabled. Mobile app code is unchecked, disabled. Only methods that are checked can be used for SSPR. User 1 can only use mobile phone, SMS call, and security questions. Quick takeaway: in Microsoft Entra SSPR, users can only use authentication methods that administrators explicitly enable, check in the configuration. Even if a method exists, if it's not checked, it's not available for password reset. You have a Microsoft Entra tenant named contoso.onmicrosoft.com that contains the users shown in the following table. You enable password reset for contoso.onmicrosoft.com as shown in the password reset exhibit. You configure the authentication methods for password reset as shown in the authentication methods exhibit. For the following statement, select yes if the statement is true. Otherwise, select no. User 3 can add security questions to the password reset process. The options are A, yes, B, no. This question tests whether user 3, who has the user administrator role, can use security questions for SSPR. The critical detail is understanding Microsoft's policy about administrator accounts and security questions in SSPR. The correct answer is no. No, user 3 cannot add security questions to the password reset process. Looking at the users table, user 3 has the user administrator role assigned. This is a critical detail because Microsoft Entra ID has a strict policy for administrator accounts. The key rule: administrator accounts can't use security questions as verification method with SSPR. This is explicitly stated in Microsoft's documentation. Regardless of whether security questions are enabled in the SSPR configuration, which they are in the exhibit, administrator accounts are blocked from using security questions for password reset. Why this restriction exists? Security questions are considered less secure than other authentication methods because answers can potentially be guessed or socially engineered. Microsoft requires administrators to use stronger authentication methods to protect privileged accounts. Looking at the exhibit note at the bottom, these settings only apply to end users in your organization. Admins are always enabled for self-service password reset and are required to use 2 authentication methods to reset their password. This confirms that administrators follow different, stricter rules than regular users. What user 3 can use instead? Mobile phone, SMS or voice call, mobile app notification, mobile app code, email, office phone, but not security questions. Why user 3 cannot use security questions? User 3 is a user administrator, privileged role, Microsoft policy. Administrators cannot use security questions for SSPR. This restriction applies regardless of SSPR configuration settings. Administrators must use stronger authentication methods. Quick takeaway: in Microsoft Entra SSPR, administrator accounts, any Azure admin role, including user administrator, global administrator, etc., are blocked from using security questions as an authentication method. This is a security safeguard to protect privileged accounts. If this video helped you understand RBAC, PIM, or Entra ID better, smash that subscribe button. We drop new AZ-104 practice tests every week, and our community has a 92% pass rate. Don't study alone. Join 500 plus Azure pros getting certified faster. Next up, storage and virtual machines. Let's go.